Hello my dear students, welcome to Teacher at Home. Today class we are going to learn the first chapter, Resources and Development. Can you identify and name the various items used in making life comfortable in our villages and towns? List the items and name the material used in their making. Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable can be termed as resource. Physical environment, nature, human beings, technological institutions. Interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institutions. The process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interactive relationship between nature, technology, and institutions. Human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. Do you think that resources are free gift of nature, as is assumed by many? They are not. Resources are a function of human activities. Human beings themselves are essential components of resources. They transform material available in our environment into resources and use them. These resources can be classified into following ways. On the basis of origin, biotic and abiotic. On the basis of accessibility, renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of ownership, individual, community, national and international. On the basis of status of a development, potential, development stock and reserves. Resources, natural and human. Renewable, non-renewable structures and institutions, quantity and quality. Renewable again classified as continuous or flow. Wind, water, biological into natural. Vegetation, forests and wildlife. Non-renewable into recyclable metals and non-recyclable fossil fuels. Human structures and institutions, quantity and quality. Activity: prepare a list of stock and resources that you are familiar with from your local area. Development of resources. Resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life. It was believed that resources are free gift of nature. As a result, human beings use them indiscriminately and this has led to the following major problems. Depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of a few individuals. Accumulation of resources in few lands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, that is, haves and have nots, or rich and poor. Indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crises such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation. Imagine if the oil supply gets exhausted one day, how would this affect our lifestyle? Plan a survey in your colony, village to investigate people's attitude towards recycling of the domestic agriculture waste. Ask questions about what do you think? What do you think about resources they use? What is the opinion about the waste and its utilization? Collage your results. An equitable distribution of resources has become essential for a sustained quality of life and global peace. If the present trend of resources depletion by a few individuals and countries continues, the future of our planet is in danger. Therefore, resource planning is essential. Planning is essential for sustainable existence of all forms of life. Sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. Sustainable development, economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not compromise the needs of the future generation. Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. In June 1992, more than 100 heads of states met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Earth Summit. The summit was convened for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development of the global level. Assembled leaders signed the of Global Declaration on Global Climatic Change and Biological Diversity. The Rio Convention endorsed the Global Forest Principles, adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century. Agenda 21st. It is the declaration signed by world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development (UNCED), which took place at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It aims at achieving global sustainable development. It is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation on common interests mutual needs, and shared responsibilities. One major objective of the Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. Resource planning. Planning is the widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources. It has important in a country like India, which has enormous diversity in the availability of resources. There are regions which are rich in certain types of resources but are deficient in some other resources. There are some regions which can be considered self sufficient in terms of the availability of resources, and there are some regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. For example, the states of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh are rich in minerals and coal deposits. Arunachal Pradesh has abundance of water resources but lack in infrastructure development. The state of Rajasthan is very well endowed with solar and wind energy but lack in water resources. The cold desert of Ladakh is relatively isolated from the rest of the country. It has very rich cultural heritage, but it is deficient in water, infrastructure, and some vital minerals. This calls for balanced resource planning at the national, state, regional, and local levels. Prepare a list of resources found in your state and also identify the resources that are important but deficient in your state. Resource planning in India. Resource planning is a complex process which involves identification and inventory of resources across the regions of the country. This involves surveying, mapping, and qualitative and quantitative estimation, measurement of the resources, evolving a planning structure endowed with appropriate technology, skill, and institutional setup for implementing resource development plans, matching the resource development plans with overall national development plans. India has made concerted efforts for achieving the goals of resource planning right from the first 5 year plan launched after independence. Availability of resource is a necessary condition for the development of any region, but mere availability of resource in the absence of corresponding changes in technology and institution may hinder development. There are many regions in our country that are rich in resources, but these are included in economically backward regions. On the contrary, there are some regions which have a poor resource base, but they are economically developed. What resources are being developed in your surroundings by the community, village, panchayat, ward level communities with the help of community participation? Can you name some resource rich but economically backward regions and some resource poor, economically developed regions? Give reasons for such a situation. The history of colonization reveals that rich resources in colonies were the main attractions for the foreign invaders. It was primarily the high level of technological development of the colonizing countries that helped them to exploit resources of other regions and establish their supremacy over the colonies. Therefore, resources can contribute to development only when they are accompanied by appropriate technological development and institutional changes. India has experienced all this in different phases of colonization. Therefore, in India, development in general and resource development in particular does not only involve the availability of resource but also the technological quality of human resource and the historical experience of the people. Conservation of resources. Resources are vital for any development activity, but irrational consumptions and overutilization of resources may lead to socio-economic and environmental problems. To overcome these problems, resource conservation at various levels is important. This had been main concern for the leaders and thinkers in the past. For example, Gandhiji was very adept in voting his concern about resource conservation in these words. There is another There is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. He placed greedy and selfish individuals and exploited nature of modern technology as a root cause for resource depletion at the global level. He was against mass production and wanted to replace it with the production by the masses. At the international level, the Club of Rome advocated resources conservation for the first time in a more systematic way in 1968. Subsequently, in 1974, Gandhian philosophy was once again presented by Suchumakar in his book Small is Beautiful. A similar contribution with respect to resource conservation at the global level was made by the Brundtland Commission Report 1987. This report introduced the concept of sustainable development, advocated it as a means of resource conservation, which was subsequently published in a book entitled Our Common Future. Another significant contribution was made at the Earth Summit at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. Land resources. We live on land, we perform our economic activities on land, and we use it in different ways. Thus, land is a natural resource of utmost importance. It supports natural vegetation, wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport, and communication systems. However, land is an asset of a finite magnitude, therefore, it is important to use available land for various purposes with careful planning. India has land under a variety of relief features, namely mountains, plateaus, plains, and islands. About 43% of the land area is plain, which provide facilities for agriculture and industry. Mountains account for 30% of the total surface area of the country and ensure perennial flow of some rivers, provide facilities for tourism and ecological aspects. About 27% of the area of the country is the plateau region. It possesses rich resources of forests of minerals, fossil fuels, and forests. Land utilization. Land resources are used for the following purpose. Forest. Land not available for cultivation. Barren and wasteland. Land put to non-agricultural uses, example buildings, roads, factories, etc. Other uncultivated land excluding fallow land. Permanent pastures and grazing land. Land under miscellaneous tree crops grows, not included in net zone area. Cultural wasteland left uncultivated for more than 5 agricultural years. Fallow lands. Current fallow that is left without cultivation for one or less than one agriculture year, other than current fallow left uncultivated for the past 1 to 5 agriculture years. Net zone area, the physical extent of land on which crops are sown harvested, is known as the net zone area. Areas on more than once in an agricultural year plus net zone area is known as the gross cropped area. Land use pattern in India. The use of land is determined both by physical factors such as topography, climate, soil types, as well as the human factors such as the population density, technological capability, and culture and traditions. General land use categories 1960-61. Land use categories to 1415. Forest, barren and unculturable wasteland. Area under non-agricultural uses, permanent pastures and grazing land. Area under miscellaneous tree crops and groves. Culturable wasteland, fallow other than current fallow net zone area. Total geographical area of India is 3.28 million square kilometer. Land use data, however, is available only for 93% of the total geographical area because the land use reporting for most of the northeast states except Assam has not been done fully. Moreover, some areas of Jammu and Kashmir occupied by Pakistan and China have also not been surveyed. The land under permanent pasture has also decreased. How are we able to feed our huge cattle population on the pasture land and what are the consequences of it? Most of the other than the current fallow lands are either of poor quality or the cost of cultivation of such land is very high. Hence, these lands are cultivated once or twice in about 2 to 3 years and if they are included in the net zone area, the percentage of NSA in India comes to about 54% of the total reporting area. The pattern of net zone area varies greatly from one state to another. It is over 80% of the total area in Punjab and Haryana, less than 10% in Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Manipur, and Andaman Nicobar Islands. Forest area in the country is far lower than the desired 33% of the geographical area as it was outlined in the National Forest Policy. It was considered essential for maintenance of the ecological balance. The livelihood of millions of people who live on the fringes of the forest depends upon it. A part of the land is termed as wasteland and land put to other non-agricultural uses. Wasteland includes rocky, arid and desert areas and land put to the non-agricultural uses include sediments, settlements, roads, railways, industry, etc. Continuous use of land over a long period of time without talking about appropriate measures to conserve and manage it has resulted in land degradation. This in turn has serious repercussions on society and the environment. Land degradation and conservation measures. We have shared our land with the past generation and will have to do so with the future generations too. 95% of our basic needs for food, shelter, clothing are obtained from land. Human activities have not only brought about degradation of land but have also aggravated to the peace of natural forces to cause damage to land. Some human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining, and quarrying too have contributed significantly in land degradation. Mining sites are abandoned after excavation work is complete, leaving deep scars and traces of overburdening. In states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and Odisha, deforestation due to mining have caused severe land degradation. In states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, overgrazing is one of the main reasons for land degradation. In the states of Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, over-irrigation is responsible for land degradation due to waterlogging leading to increase in salinity and alkalinity in the soil. The mineral processing like grinding of limestone for cement industry and calcite and soap stone for ceramic industry generate huge quantity of dust in the atmosphere. It retards the process of infiltration of water into the soil after it settles down on the land. In recent years, industrial effluents as waste have become a major source of land and water pollution in many parts of the country. There are many ways to solve these problems of land degradation. Afforestation and proper management of grazing can help to some extent. Planting of shelter belts of plants, control over grazing, stabilization of sand dunes by growing thorny bushes, some of the methods to check land degradation in arid areas. Proper management of wastelands, control of mining activities, proper discharge, and disposal of industrial effluents and waste after treatment can reduce land and water degradation in industrial and suburban areas. Soil as a source. Soil is the most important renewable natural resource. It is a medium of plant growth and supports different types of living organisms on the earth. The soil is a living system. It takes millions of years to form soil up to few centimeters in depth. Relief, parent rock or bedrock, climate, vegetation, and other forms of life and time are important factors in the formation of soil. Various forces of nature, such as change in temperature, actions of running water, wind and glaciers, activities of decomposers, etc., contribute to the formation of soil. Chemical and organic changes which take place in the soil are equally important. Soil also consists of organic, humus, and inorganic materials. That is topsoil, the upper soil layer, subsoil, weathered rocks, sand, and slitty clay. Substratum, weather parent rock material, unweathered parent bedrock. On the basis of the factors responsible for the soil formation, color, thickness, texture, age, chemical, and physical properties, the soil of India classified into different types. Classification of soils. India has varied relief features, landforms, climate streams, and vegetation types. These have contributed in the development of various types of soils. Alluvial soil. This is the most widely spread and important soil. In fact, the entire northern plains are made up of alluvial soil. These have been deposited by three important Himalayan river systems, Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra. The soils also extend in Rajasthan, Gujarat through a narrow corridor. Alluvial soil is also found in the eastern coastal plains, particularly in the deltas of the Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and the Kaveri rivers. Alluvial soil consists of various proportions of sand, slate, and clay. As we move inland towards the river valleys, soil particles appear, some which bigger in size in the upper reaches of the river valley. Near the place of the break of the slope, soils are coarse. Such soils are more common in pediment plains such as duals, coals, and terrain. Apart from the size of the grains or components, soils are also described on the basis of the age. According to the age, alluvial soil can be classified as old alluvial Bankar and the new alluvial Kadar. Banga soil has high concentration of Kanga nodules than the Kadar. It has more the particles and is more fertile than the Banga. Alluvial soils as a whole are very fertile. Mostly these soils contain adequate proportion of potash, phosphoric acid, lime, which are deal with the ideal for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat, and other cereal and pulse crops. Due to its high fertility, regions of alluvial soils are intensively cultivated, densely populated. Soils in the drier areas are more alkaline and can be productive after proper treatment and irrigation. Black soil. These soils are black in color and also known as the regal soils. Black soil is ideal for growing cotton and is known as the black cotton soil. It is believed that climate conditions along the parent rock material are the important factors for the formation of black soil. This type of soil is typical for the Deccan Trap basalt region spread over northwest Deccan Plateau and is made up of lava flows. They cover the plateaus of Maharashtra, Saurashtra, Malwa, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh, extend in the southeast direction along the Godavari and the Krishna Valley. Black soils are made up of extremely fine clay material. They are well known for the capacity of hold moisture. In addition, they are rich in soil nutrition such as calcium carbonate, magnesium, potassium, and lime. In their major soil types, soils are generally poor in phosphoric contents. They develop deep cracks during hot weather, which helps in the proper aeration of the soil. The soils are sticky when wet and difficult to work on unless tilled immediately after the first shower or during the pre-monsoon period. Red and yellow soils. Red soil develops on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of in the eastern and the southern parts of the Deccan Plateau. Yellow and red soils are also found in the parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern part of the middle Ganga plain, and along the Padavan zone of the western Ghat. These soils develop on a reddish color due to the diffusion of iron in crystalline metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow when it occurs in a hydrated form. Laterite soil. Laterite has been derived from the Latin word later, which means brick. The laterite soil develops under tropical and subtropical climate with alternate wet and dry season. This soil is the result of intense leaching due to heavy rain. Laterite soil are mostly deep to very deep, acidic, generally deficient in plant nutrition and occur mostly in southern states. Western Ghat region of Maharashtra, Odisha, some part of Western Bengal, northeast regions, where the soils support deciduous and evergreen forests, it is humus rich but under sparse vegetation and is semi-arid environment. It is generally humus poor. They are prone to erosion and degradation due to the positions on the landscape. After adopting appropriate soil conservation techniques, particularly in the hilly areas of Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu, this soil is very useful for growing tea and coffee. Red laterite soils in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Kerala are most suitable for crops like cashew nut. Arid soils. Arid soils range from red to brown in color. They are generally sandy in texture and saline in nature. In some areas, the salt content is very high, and common salt is obtained by evaporating the water. Due to the dry climate, high temperature evaporation is faster. The soil lacks humus and moisture. The lower horizons of the soil are occupied by kangar because of the increasing calcium content downwards. Kangar layer formation in the bottom horizon restrict the infiltration of water. After proper irrigation, the soils become cultivable, as has been in the case of western Rajasthan. Forest soils. Forest soils are found in the hilly and mountainous areas where sufficient rainforests are available. Soil texture varies according to the mountain environment where they are formed. They are loamy and silly in valleys, sides, and coasts, grained in the upper slopes. In the snow-covered areas of Himalayas, the soils experience denudation and acidic with low humus content. The soils found in the lower parts of the valleys, particularly on the river traces and alluvial fans, are fertile. Soil erosion and soil conservation. The denudation of the soil cover and subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. The process of soil formation and erosion go on simultaneously, and generally there is a balance between the two. Sometimes this balance is disturbed due to human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, construction, and mining, etc. While natural forests like wind, glacier, and water lead to soil erosion. The running water cuts through the clayey soils and makes deep channels as gullies. The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as the bad land. In the Chambial Basin, such lands are called ravines. Sometimes water flows as a sheet over large areas down a slope. In such cases, the topsoil is washed away. This is known as the sheet erosion. Wind blows loose soil or flat or sloping land, known as the wind erosion. Soil erosion is also caused due to the effective methods of farming. Plowing in a wrong way, up and down the slope form channels for the quick flow of water, leading to soil erosion. Plowing along the contour lines can decelerate the flow of water down the slopes. This is called the contour plowing. Steps can be cut out on the slopes, making terrace. Terrace cultivation restricts erosion. Western and central Himalayas have well developed and terrace farming. Large fields can be divided into strips. Strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the force of the wind. This method is known as the strip cropping. Planting lines of trees to create shelter also works in a similar way. Rows of such trees are called the shelter belts. These shelter belts have distributed significantly to the stabilization of sand dunes and in stabilizing the desert of western India. So that's all about this chapter. If you are interested, please do like, share, and subscribe my channel. Okay, thank you.